Zeets, what has moved and shaken today?
Well, we're going better than yesterday. We had 0 deals yesterday. We've had one today, which is great. At this stage, we'll wait and see if anything's come through just before the deadline closes. But Jade Gresham is officially an Essendon player. He's gotten to his club of choice on a 3-year deal for the Bombers. They ended up getting St Kilda end of round 1 compensation for his services. So that was enough to get them pick 21 and see them not match the deal and not force Essendon to trade for him. So we can talk about the Essendon Football Club a bit later, Jonesy. I'm sure we'd love to chat about them. But Jade Gresham, he finally gets to his new home and is now an Essendon Football Club player.
What do the Bombers see in Jade Gresham? You obviously played with him at the Saints.
Yeah, I think they get a talented player forward of centre. And when you look at the upgrade that's going to be on, I mean, they've had Guelphy and Menzies play that role. Snelling's been in and out, and Tippenwoody's obviously retired. So I think it fills a need for the Essendon Football Club. I think St Kilda will be okay to part with him, Dell, because when you think about it, Butler and Higgins are their two primary small forwards, and Philippo and Owens have showed that they are the hybrid types that are going to kick some goals to go with the tall combination down there. So look, I think it's a great get by the Bombers. I think that 26 years of age, he had 2 years where he was really hampered by injury, building himself back up. If he can get himself fully fit over the off-season and in the pre-season, I think they've got to play with high talent that is a very good player forward of centre.
I think it works really well for both clubs. I think Jade Gresham's numbers, you look at his champion data numbers, his inside 50 kicks and the retention, not great. That's the pure facts. I think he's a better player than what he's been delivering. I think he has more upside, but it's about him actually getting it done. He's got the match-winning ability, and there's been times throughout the course of his career at St Kilda where he has literally won the game off his own boot. It hasn't been consistent enough, and he has been St Kilda's version of a De Goey or a Petrarca or a Dusty. He's clearly not at that level, and I don't think he'll ever will get to that level, but he does have traits that some of those guys have done in the past.
Spot on. Fresh start will be great for him, and St Kilda get back into the draft, which they are trying to get some more draft picks, whether they'll use them on Liam Henry or to get back and get some high-end talent. So, as Dale said, win-win.
So can Brad Scott unlock that potential? I mean, we know he was a relatively high draft pick and as Dale said, maybe hasn't reached the heights that St Kilda fans would have wanted. And you mentioned names like De Goey and Dangerfield and Dustin Martin. I mean, that is elite company and he certainly hasn't got there yet.
Well, it is interesting when you do take a look at some numbers that we dug out, because in 2017, 2018, he did kick 65-plus goals in that 2-year span and was high for goal assists. And then we know he's had his injury runs. But these are the current players in the system at the moment throughout their career, their stats for their career. So Dustin Martin, across his whole 13 years, has averaged 24.5 disposals and over a goal a game. Dangerfield fits that billing. Toby Green as well now. Jordan De Goey. It's a pretty good list. There's one other player for their career that averages 18-plus disposals and a goal a game. These are the only 5 players. It's Jade Gresham. So for all this talk about what he can't do, and maybe he's not the best runner in the comp, maybe his kicking is a little bit tardy, what he is, he's a player that has got some qualities that are up there with the very best players in the competition. Now, we're clearly not saying he sits in that mould yet, Del, but he's got that talent in him.
And one thing, and I worked with Brad Scott, and I loved him for the 3 years at North Melbourne. Brad Scott loves this style of player. And I think what Brad understands, as most senior coaches do, not everybody's the same. And Jade Gresham has some flaws that he needs to work on clearly, but he also has an elite skill set that few others do. So you put him into that 4-line, Joey, working with some of these other guys that have improved. There's no doubt some of the other Bombers forwards have improved. You drop in Jade Gresham with a little bit of that X factor, I think it can work for them. That
was an extraordinary list and stat, and I'm sure Bombers fans will be really drilling down on that one now, because that's a very optimistic one, because the Bombers have been really busy players. This is the 3rd piece in the puzzle after Goldstein and Mackay landed there, so they've been quite aggressive.
Well, I think the biggest thing for them is they haven't had to give up a single draft pick yet in getting these 3 players to their club who they targeted, they sold them the dream and they got them across the line to get to their football club, despite there being interest in them from other parties. I think you can say that about all 3 of those players. So a really good effort by them to get, in Adrian Dodoro's last trade period, in charge there before handing over to Matt Rosa to get those 3 names and still hold on to pick number 9 in the draft, which they've got. Xavier Dersman is the next one to try and tick off their list and finish the quartet. But I think potentially even a player-for-player trade with Brandon Zerk-Thatcher. We haven't seen one of them for quite some time. That might be in the mix, but we'll wait and see. But the Essendon Football Club have found their targets. They've gone after them. They've done it well. So far, they're 3-3.
I hope this next piece, if they are to get Dersma for Zerk-Thatcher, it's just a legitimate player for player.
That won't
just
happen.
So normal people in the society, in the streets, can actually understand one of these deals and actually compare it.
It's too easy for the clubs to compare. It's too easy.
Just make it simple.
Too easy for the clubs to compare who wins that trade if they do it that way.
And the fan bases to compare.
That's right. But I like what Essendon have done. I think they've done it really well. And I think that it's interesting, though, that Brad Scott's preached patience, hasn't he, with this Essendon side? Patient, we're going to build slowly. But now they've gone bang and gone and get, so far, 3, might be 4 players that are in in the sort of, well, a couple of them in the prime and a couple of Todd Goldstein, Ticklett's a veteran, that's just going to try and top up where they're at.
Where do you see them finishing next year with these?
Well, they should be challenging for the 8, absolutely. Yeah.
They should have been challenging for the 8 this year.
Yeah.
Well, let's put that in perspective. So then you look, is this list, if it plays somewhere near their potential, better than what we saw from last year's team? Absolutely. So they should be around the 8.
And a great article on the Herald Sun at the moment, chief football writer Mark Robinson, about the whole idea of Bombers fans being patient.
Yeah, right.
It's a good read, Joey. I'll let you read that after the show. Zeets, we've got some breaking news, a late trade involving the Brisbane Lions. What can you tell us?
Yes, I think one came through very late in the bell coming from AFL House. So pick 47 goes to the Brisbane Lions, and in return Melbourne receives Tom Fullerton, the player who they had targeted. They bring across as that, I guess, not the Brodie Grundy role, I don't think, but as the backup to Max Gawn, who can come into the side and potentially play a bit more forward as well. So I think that the D's have been adamant he's not Brodie Grundy. This is a bit different. He has got a bit more forward craft in his arsenal to play with. We don't expect him to be Brodie Grundy 2.0, but they bring Tom Fullerton into the club and get that deal done.
Do you see that more as the Luke Jackson piece? Because Luke Jackson goes out 12 odd months ago, the surprise packet of Brodie Grundy coming in and all of us asking, if this works, it's brilliant. It's a masterstroke. It hasn't. He's Fullerton, that piece, who's shown some good signs over the years with Brisbane. Limited opportunity.
There is some similarities to how he plays like Luke Jackson. He's more of an athletic type, good size, still got a fair bit of work to go, but I like it as well. I think there's a little bit of upside with Fullerton.
And that forward line, 70-odd inside 50s in one of those finals, it gets there, but the connection with that forward line's not working. So if they can get that piece just to support Max for the small breather that he needs each game, it might be this young man.